Hello, my name is David Garson. Today we're going to talk about Rocky and white ethnics. Okay, so first of all, a context a little bit about me. I'm a huge Rocky fan. Probably that love was transmitted from my father to me. I mean, I've seen all Rocky's films, the first one, second one, third one, the fourth one, and then the fifth one, which is not good at all, and the Rocky Balboa, which is the sixth one, when then Creed 1, Creed 2, and then Creed 3. Yeah, I've seen all the movies, so sort of I don't need a introduction into the Rocky theme. I know every single movie by memory, I guess. But let's answer the questions of the discussion. How do the films qualify as cinema of white grievance? Sort of a context right here. In 1970s, there was a revolution. That we know that the counterculture existed, and sort of the white people, the white folks, sort of had this grievance or this mourning within them, had a sentiment of now knowing and acknowledging what they're doing is wrong, since a lot of anti-segregation rules or laws have happened during this time. We see that white folks are finally sort of acknowledging their mistake, and in a very hypocrite way, if you ask me, they're trying to switch the roles in the real life. Now, when we talk about Rocky, for me, like I said, I don't need no introduction about those films. The first one, which is the one we're focusing on, but Apollo Creed actually lives till the Rocky 4 where he dies. Sorry, spoiler warning. But basically, in the first movie, for me, the OG movies are my favorite movie is probably Rocky 4. I'm a basic one, but Rocky 1 is underrated. And Rocky 1 talks about this Italian American white man who lives in a ghetto, lives in of course a ghetto, but like a really bad neighborhood. They depict the and they portray the neighborhood as mostly during the night. Of course, that they see the insecurity that is portrayed in the neighborhood. But basically, he's a goon for hire for the mafia bosses, and at night he's a prize fighter, which means that he boxes for money. Now, sort of, why does this represent a white grievance? Because this is white folks. I mean, sort of to understand this, the article states, or at least that's what it's trying to signify or try to state, that this is cinema of white grievance, since this switching, sort of abrupt switching of roles, of always trying to portray black men as stereotypically the underdog. Now they're switching the roles and trying to make the white folks the underdog, sort of live in this harsh conditions. And for me, that answers the question. And I have a quote, I think is, Rocky Balboa, the white working class hero, is framed as the one who must fight against the government and against, all the sets of rules from society. And I feel like that's the intention behind it. The next question is two examples of Rocky being portrayed as a white victim and Apollo as the privileged black character. Okay, so first of all, I designated this segment as Rocky's struggle versus Apollo's welfare, or however you want to call it. Basically, Apollo was a privileged black man who actually cashes clay himself. Muhammad Ali, in one of the Oscar ceremonies, if I'm not mistaken, comes at stage and says that he's a real Apollo Creed. So I'm not sort of verifying the source, but at least we can see that there's sort of a Apollo Creed resembles the idea of Muhammad Ali, which is Apollo was an incredible, wealthy black man who lived his life very privileged, actually, sort of not resembling what was happening in the 1970s, since I think it is pretty clear that most of the privileged men were white. So this sort of switching roles, for me, that's the answer to the question. And the reason why Rocky's been portrayed as a white victim is, like I said, the sort of context. He's struggling every single day to just get $40 an hour for breaking his nose or his eye or whatever. So he's the underdog, and this movie can sort of signify the classic America triumphing or like victory movie. And the second example is how the Apollo sort of reflects, I put here like exclusive symptoms. I have a quote right here: in this world, success is no longer within reach of white ethnics. That's a quote that I pinpoint real quick. So basically, this wealthy character being black is not made, at least what it states here, is not made just it is made on purpose, since we see that white folks are sort of resembling a sentiment where they think that wealthiness or welfare are kind of like slipping through their hands, and finally feeling that fear that probably black men are now more propense to have equal rights, equal mass, and the sort of leveling more white folks right here. There's the level that they had, and when black men sort of reach out this level, white folks begin to preoccupy about this sort of new status for society. At least that's what I get from here. And how does the author compare this film to the Bake case? I don't know if it's Bake or Bake. I have no idea how it is, but basically, so another context, Bake had a case. Let me just real quick. Yes, give one second. Sorry. Bake versus University of California Board of Regents in 1978. Okay, so there we have a case which is quite interesting, as explained due to our beloved professor David Cabrera. He explained that this case was sort of manipulated to resemble the sentiment of now black supremacy instead of being white supremacy, when that's not the case. Basically, Bake wanted to enter this university, and he got a good grade, actually a way better grade than most of the people get. So he sort of had a mental breakdown, if you want to say, like a realization: why am I not in? And he had the shame, or I don't know how to say it, just the sentiment, and for me that's shameful, but like so shameless that he thought that the reason and the media, manipulated the information so that it appears that the whole reason was because of his race, when that's not the case. Actually, the race had a lot to do, but to benefit him or his race. As explained, Mr. Cabrera, there were a bunch of spots, 100 spots, and most of those spots, the majority of the spots, were reserved prior or beforehand exclusively for the whites. Let's say 85, let's say 90. 5 of them for blacks, 2 of them for Latinos, 2 of them for Asians, and 2 of them for I don't know what else. So minorities actually were targeted as the villains when white folks represented the majority, and there was no more space for Bake, which was a white man, to kind of enter to the spot that they had. So sort of the resemble between the case, the Baker case, and Rocky film. For me, the author is trying to portray I have a quote right here. Give me 1 second. Rocky's struggle is not just about boxing, but reclaiming a position. So yes, so in the movie, basically Apollo pinpoints one folder, and the name of Rocky came out, like sort of drafted to the Vietnam War. You want to see it philosophically, that's up to you. But basically, that's what happened, and we see that this opportunity is given, but he's fighting for that opportunity. The opportunity has been given, yes, but he's trying to fight for something. He has a goal, because Apollo is a heavyweight champion. That's why he's so very wealthy. He's well respected. So sort of this resembles the fight that Bake had, which was deceitful and was fake for me, because that was not like sort of a fight, because he already had a spot, so he just had to wait a bit. So for me, it doesn't resemble much, because they don't parallel that much, because Rocky actually had struggles, but sort of resemble the same sentiment. And I think the last question is why or you don't or why do you not agree with his conclusions? Well, for me, I have my own opinion. Rocky's an untouchable film. It's an 100 out of 10 film. So for me, it hurts my feelings to criticize this film. So for me, it has nothing to do with the case because the case was manipulated into thinking that there was sort of a reverse discrimination to the white folks when in reality that was not the case. Well, at least for me, the Rocky one or the Rocky film emphasizes more of on the American dream to sort of accomplish your dream than to this. For me, I feel like appealing to everyone is gonna be the most complicated task because just think about it. If Rocky was a black man and he was sort of struggling, had the same conditions, and Rocky was a white privileged man, we will see this as a stereotypical movie, and it will be criticized. Now that they switch the roles, it's criticized again. So for